What's up, guys? Welcome to the Racing Roundtable, back again with another video. And today's video is, of course, about the 2026 Australian Grand Prix, which had its moments and was interesting. It was interesting to see how these regulations worked in a racing context. Probably not the best track due to the energy limiting nature of the Albert Park circuit, but we did have some moments of racing which were exciting in my opinion. So before I get straight into the video, let me know your thoughts about the race, any sort of breakdown or comments you have, anything you noticed, anything maybe concerns you had which didn't materialize, or maybe some concerns that you do have now. So first thing, Oscar Piastri. Not good at all. Crashing on your reconnaissance lap at your home Grand Prix. The fact is, the first Grand Prix of the season, by alone, that's bad enough. But it's your home Grand Prix in front of your fans. Most of these guys are here because of you. And they've paid hundreds, maybe thousands of Australian dollars to watch you race, maybe get a podium. And he just bins it. Now, I don't know if there was an engine spike or torque spike, or he just made a mistake, but that was not good. That was not good at all. And of course, if it was a championship, I don't think the McLaren drivers are in a championship running. But if they were, this would be costly, probably. You didn't even start the race. That's insane. So not good for Piastri, not good for McLaren, because then they were basically affected strategy-wise. It didn't really hurt them too much because they stayed ahead of Verstappen, but they were like a minute off Mercedes, which I'll get to. But that was not good at all. At all. So we go to the start. And watching this live, I was very amused and very surprised by how quickly the start lights went off. Like, it was literally pretty much as soon as the fifth light went on, they all went lights out. And that was that's the first time I've ever seen that in my life, watching F1. I've been watching F1 since like 2008. That was the first time I've ever seen that. And I don't know if it was a trick, or a test to see, because they've got this new start procedure now where they've got 5 seconds notification to start spooling up the turbos and building up the revs and all that. I don't know if it was sort of trying to balance that out or not, or if it was a genuine test to see, okay, which drivers or which cars, which engines are going to struggle with this sort of turbo spinning up issue. Obviously, Ferrari ended up having a good start, both drivers. So, yeah, Antonelli had a bad start, lots of wheel spin. I think he even smoked his rear tyres at the start as well. But the start procedure was funny to me. Like, I've never seen that in my life, ever. As soon as the red light, the fifth one, showed up, it was lights out. And then we get to turn 1. Leclerc jumping Russell. You can see Antonelli is all the way here. Just first, second, third, fourth, fifth, about 6th place. Well, Leclerc started like 4th, and then Lewis started 7th. And look, Leclerc first, Hamilton 3rd, at least at this stage. If Lewis didn't run as wide as he did, he probably would have challenged Russell for 2nd. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it didn't really matter too much. But it goes to show that Ferrari are going to be a menace at the start of races, at least at the beginning. The teams may start to find solutions as to how to get the best out of the start procedure for their turbos, their engines, or there may be some new rules or regulations that come in to mitigate the challenges. But still, like, I didn't actually think the whole Ferrari start advantage would happen or would be as obvious as it was, but it was. I thought the other teams would have maybe found a solution and it wouldn't have been as bad. It probably isn't as bad as like the start of the Bahrain test, but still, like, it was crazy to see. And we were all joking around, even on Twitter. Like, people were saying, like, imagine Ferrari can start 10th and still probably end up in first place at the end of or into turn 1. Like, it pretty much almost happened with Lewis almost getting 2nd place. Leclerc went all the way into 1st. Like, it was crazy. And then we have Lewis overtaking Arvid Lindblad and Isaac Hadjar. And it was again good for Arvid, because him as a rookie, the only rookie on the grid this year, his first race start, and he's racing wheel to wheel and literally touching wheels with a 7-time world champion who's done almost 400 races, I think. So that's insane on the first lap as well. Absolutely insane. And we see the overtake that Lewis did, and then Arvid is still ahead of Isaac Hadjar as well. Like, Lindblad had a very good weekend. I think Hadjar had a decent weekend as well. And then we get to the juicy part. The first, 10, 15 laps, you could argue, okay, artificial, because one driver's now having to harvest, the other driver now has a bit more battery, and they can use their battery. I think at the time it was enjoyable. I still think it was enjoyable. I don't get the element of artificial too much, because like I've been watching F1 since 2008. Like I said, DRS has been in F1 since 2011. Well, 2011 up to 2025. I've seen artificial overtakes for 14, 15 seasons. Like, I'm used to it. But it was interesting to see where the drivers would overtake and how they would try and deploy the battery. In my opinion, though, I don't know why they don't just have the drivers manually operate how they use the battery. Like, they don't, I'm not talking about overtake mode, boost mode. I'm talking about just at all times. Like, they're able to press a button, either hold it or press it, whatever, and the battery will deploy. If they want to deplete the battery, then fine. If they want to save some battery, then fine. At least they'd be in control of it fully. But I guess it's mostly automated, so they don't really have much. They don't really have much input and control into how things go, other than the boost mode and overtake mode. So I feel like the drivers should have that sort of input and control over how they use their battery. Of course, the team could say, okay, you need to use it here and there, but at least in sort of wheel-to-wheel action, George would be able to, maybe if he has some battery left, would manually deplete his battery if he wanted to. Unless it's technically what they do with the boost mode, but still, like, if they had that control, they may not have to harvest as much because it's all automated now. So yeah, but it was very good to see the overtakes and the action. And these two battling allowed Lewis to get closer, and then allowed Antonelli to get closer once he cleared Norris, Hadjar, and Lindblad as well. And we see Leclerc overtaking Russell into, I think it's turn 9, which, I mean, you don't really see many overtakes there, because I think Verstappen also overtook someone here as well later on in the race. And you just see them switching positions and then fighting wheel to wheel. Like, it was good. It was good action to see. Because I was a bit skeptical about the racing. Again, it's Australia, it's Albert Park, so the track is a bit of an outlier in terms of the energy demands and also the layout. So China will be a very interesting sort of race, and it's also a sprint weekend, so it's going to be even more interesting. But it was good to see them race wheel to wheel. Leclerc obviously pushing George almost onto the grass, and George getting onto the radio and whatnot. So, and then George overtaking him again into, I think, turn 3. And then, yeah, here he is completing the move. And then Leclerc overtaking him again into turn 9. And you see Lewis getting closer and closer. And now Antonelli is in 4th. Speaking of which, why did the FIA or F1 or whoever decide to have the timings like this 1 decimal place? That was annoying. Like, you could see 0.0. Like, you could have had the tenths and the hundredths and the thousandths. Like, it was very annoying for that to happen. Like, just show the information. There's no need. No one asked for it to be changed. So hopefully they go back to showing the hundredths and the thousandths in the next race. But then we have the lockup and the sparks from George trying to overtake Leclerc. He did get the move done, but he couldn't stay ahead because he went wide. Leclerc had a better exit. And then again, you see Lewis getting closer, Antonelli getting closer. If it wasn't for the VSC, then we could have had, Lewis right on the gearbox of George Russell. Like, if it wasn't for the VSC that I'll get to, we could have had a 4-way challenge for the race win. Like, that would have been so insane. In the first Grand Prix of a new set of regulations, it would have been so insane. But and again, also an observation, except Bottas and Stroll, who had issues. Like, look at Lawson, 25 seconds behind after 9 laps. Verstappen, 14.8 seconds behind after 9 laps. That's actually insane. So clearly, obviously, Mercedes and Ferrari have the best cars. And I think it's really close between McLaren and Red Bull right now. And speaking of Red Bull, here we have the first VSC, which was caused by Isaac Hadjar and his engine conking out. And it was very unfortunate because this guy now has a DNS and a DNF consecutively at the Australian Grand Prix. So it's a bit of like a curse for him. Maybe he's an honorary Australian because Australians always seem to have bad luck at the Australian Grand Prix, i.e. Oscar Piastri. i.e. Mark Webber, i.e. Daniel Ricciardo. Not again. I don't think an Australian's ever gotten a podium at the Australian Grand Prix, which is insane to me. But again, this was unfortunate. Hadjar was having a good race, and he could have out raced Verstappen as well, but unfortunately, it wasn't to be for him. And then Mercedes do the double stack. Ferrari decided not to do the double stack or pit one and maybe leave out. Ferrari strategists, typical. And then Aston Martin retired Alonso and then brought him back out. I don't know if I'm misremembering things, but I'm pretty sure at one point Alonso was like 15 laps down or like 10 laps down or something like that. Like, I don't know what issue he had that required them to retire the car, but whatever it was, I guess they were able to take him back out. Again, the race was probably just a test session for them, so whatever they were doing, it would have been valuable enough to risk any other failures and at least see how the car will perform, how the engine is performing. And like I mentioned about Aston Martin, I cooked the video, it's going to be a long year. Honda have done a terrible job with the power unit, but I think the car is also an issue as well. Adrian Newey's demands, and he's already putting the blame at Honda's feet, and it's not a good start to the partnership at all. It's not. It's embarrassing as well. The amount of money they've spent, the hype they've had, the targets they've set, it's not a good look at all. And then we have Liam Lawson and Sergio Perez, and first race back for Perez, and these two can't avoid each other. No love lost. And yeah, it was good to see some racing down in the midfield or towards the back end as well, like for sure. But these two, no love lost whatsoever. And then look at how close they are. Look how close they are going into the corner. Insane racing. And then we go to Perez's teammate Bottas, who apparently had issues pretty much all race, and I think he had a steering wheel change as well at one point, which wasn't shown on TV. And this caused the second VSC. And this is a criticism of Ferrari. I don't know if I'm being very harsh, but I feel like they could have decided to bring maybe Leclerc, because when they cut to Bottas's car, Leclerc was around where Lewis was, or actually getting into the corner. So I guess maybe they could have seen the GPS or something, or seen the yellow flags, be like, he's parked at the pit entry, let's box at least one of them. But they didn't do it. So yeah, Ferrari could have won the race, probably not, but at least you would have given yourselves a better chance, because the 10 seconds or so that they lost by not pitting under the VSC, it could have been, they would have been closer to Antonelli at least. It would have been like Leclerc would have been like 5 seconds. Lewis as well, to be honest, with how close he finished behind Leclerc. They could have been about 5 seconds behind Antonelli, which could have put Antonelli under more pressure, forced a mistake, and, who knows. And then speaking of no love lost, we have Gasly and Ocon battling, making contact. And yeah, these two obviously have their history. But again, it was good to see the racing. There was racing throughout the field. It wasn't just the top end of the field. It was in the middle and it was towards the back. And then we see the damage, which this was also what I was intrigued by, is how are these front wings gonna fare when there's wheel-to-wheel action, when there's contact. And this is a good indication as to maybe they should get rid of this element. I don't know. This could obviously cause a puncture, cause some damage, get lodged somewhere, or they could make it a bit shorter. Because I don't see why the front wings are as wide as they are when we've got the main part of the front wing here, but then they've got this extension. I guess you could just make it a bit smaller, make it a bit tougher for the teams to deal with the tire wake. But again, maybe that's to do with the racing, help them condition the flow. And yeah, I don't know. But it was good to see how these wings fare in wheel-to-wheel combat. Then we've got George Russell overtaking Lewis before his pit stop. And yeah, I mean, Ferrari, I guess they were banking on another VSC or safety car, but obviously that didn't happen. You could see the Mercedes is obviously performing really, 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 really well, especially in the hands of George Russell. Although Lewis was on worn tyres, the Mercedes is so good. It's so good. And Toto was looking very smug on Saturday as well in qualifying. So could be ominous, but for once, maybe we all have to have hope that Ferrari will make it an interesting season. Because I don't see Antonelli challenging Russell too much, but you never know. And then we have Lewis making his pit stop, and you can see how far behind the Ferrari drivers are now, when Leclerc was literally right behind Russell before the first VSC. And now look, the gap. At this point, I was thinking, okay, fresher tires by like 14 laps. Maybe the Ferraris can do something, but it was insane how, they couldn't touch them. They couldn't touch Mercedes. It's almost as if maybe the Mercedes doesn't even hurt its tires at all. And if it does, it's not as much as Ferrari or Red Bull or McLaren. It was absolutely insane that these guys had such a tire offset that they could even close the gap to the Mercedes. Like Leclerc finished 12.4 seconds off Antonelli with fresher tires. He didn't really catch him. And Lewis, in fact, was catching Leclerc. And if it was maybe 1 or 2 more laps, he would have overtaken Leclerc and gone his first podium for Ferrari. So I don't know if it was a case of the Ferrari not working well with the hard tires, or if it was to do with Mercedes' advantage and it doesn't cook its tires. But it'll be interesting to see again in hot conditions or tracks where the demand on the tires is much higher, like a China. It'll be interesting to see how the Mercedes does in those situations. But yeah, to summarize the race, we've got George finishing first, 2.9 seconds ahead of his teammate. It was quite close between the two of them. Leclerc and Hamilton finishing third and fourth. Lando Norris, half decent race, I guess. He couldn't really do much, finishing 52 seconds off George Russell in 58 laps. That's almost a second a lap, which is insane. And Verstappen doing well, coming from 20th to 6th place, crashing in qualifying for something that wasn't his fault. So good recovery from there. Behrman finishing 7th, good result for him and Haas. Sorry, I was about to call him Ferrari. Arvid Lindblad doing well again, 8th place, solid performance. Out racing Lawson as well. Completely thrashed Lawson, to be honest, this weekend, which is embarrassing for Lawson. You've been in F1 now maybe 2.5 years-ish, and someone on the debut just washed you. Insane. Bortoleto getting 9th, and Audi getting points on the debut. Good performance by them, doing much better than Honda, and promising signs for them because they've built an engine for the first time ever in Formula 1, and it seems to be competent, it seems to be capable. Maybe the car side of things needs to be improved because, again, Sauber, I don't remember the last time Sauber actually had a decent car. Maybe, 2012? Maybe? I feel like, maybe 2022. The beginning of 2022 was the last time that team produced a decent car. So I think engine side is decent, but car side needs to be improved. And then Gasly somehow getting a point for Alpine, and Verstappen getting the fastest lap. Alpine, people predicted would be where Haas are, leading the midfield, but it turns out they didn't really have that pace until, I guess, in the race, Gasly managed to get a point, working wonders with that car. And Colapinto managing to avoid, I think it was Lawson at the beginning, insane reactions. So my driver of the day is Lindblad. Rookie tax, he did very, very well all weekend. He went as high as 4th place in the race, or 5th place. Like, he's hit the ground running. Again, later on in the season, he could have a dip and a bad run of form, but we have to sing his praises for his first ever race weekend, and he's done really well. Really, 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 really well. So shout out to him. The race rating, I gave it a 7. After lap 20-ish, the race sort of died down a bit, especially before the lead. There was some racing in the midfield, and you saw Verstappen going through the field, trying to chase Norris. But I think first 25% of the race was decent, then the rest of it was good, and then the rest of it was meh. It was meh. So it would have been interesting to see if Ferrari actually pitted under maybe the second VSC or the first one, and see what would have happened in a straight dogfight. Would have been very interesting. So that's my race review of the 2026 Australian Grand Prix. Let me know your thoughts about the race. Did you enjoy it? What's your race rating? Who was your driver of the day? Who do you think has the best engine? Who do you think has the best car? And what are your predictions for the championship? Because I think, based on this race, I think George Russell is going to be world champion. I'm not going to lie. Based on this race. But I have to see more. Let me know any other thoughts you had. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Goodbye.